Let's talk about the big beautiful bill of 2025. A name that sounds more like a luxury condo than a law. It's quite the moniker, isn't it? This isn't just another stack of legal jargon. It's a seismic shift in American policy, a real game changer. Promising the world while quietly checking your pockets. Always a cause for concern. Imagine a national financial renovation, a gold-plated bathroom but the roof's patched with duct tape. A temporary fix at best. The bill's passage was pure political theater. Backroom deals, last-minute changes, and enough shouting to power a small city. Quite the spectacle indeed. Now we're all living in the world it created, permanent tax cuts for some, budget cuts for others, and a national debt set to soar. Understanding this bill is about financial self-preservation. We'll break down what's really in it, who wins, who loses, and what it means for your future. The stakes, your taxes, your roads, your kids' future. So grab a snack and settle in. This is going to matter. Let's dive in. Crack open this legislative piñata, and what do you find inside? It's not candy or toys for everyone. Instead, it's a carefully crafted plan designed to benefit a select few at the expense of the many. This isn't about shared prosperity, it's about shifting the economic landscape in favor of those already at the top. Inside, you'll find tax cuts, substantial ones for corporations and the wealthy, the kind that can reshape balance sheets and investment portfolios overnight. These aren't minor adjustments. They're fundamental shifts in how the tax burden is distributed, favoring those who arguably need it the least. And alongside those tax cuts, a mountain of IOUs, promises made but not paid for. Obligations that will eventually come due, impacting future generations and potentially destabilizing the economy. The bill's centerpiece, permanent corporate tax cuts, a lasting benefit etched into law, ensuring that large companies continue to enjoy reduced tax liabilities for the foreseeable future. Sold as a way to boost investment and jobs, the argument being that lower taxes will incentivize companies to expand, hire more workers, and contribute to overall economic growth. But does the reality match the rhetoric? It's classic trickle-down economics, a theory that suggests benefits at the top will eventually make their way down to everyone else, pouring water on the tallest plant and hoping the rest get a drop. The idea is that by enriching those at the top, the benefits will eventually trickle down to the rest of society. But what if the water evaporates before it reaches the roots? Top earners get a permanent tax break, a guaranteed advantage that solidifies their financial standing. For most families, temporary cuts have expired, leaving them facing a higher tax burden than before. So many will pay more, effectively subsidizing the tax breaks enjoyed by the wealthiest individuals and corporations. It's a bait-and-switch the wealthy feast, enjoying the fruits of these tax cuts with lavish spending and increased wealth accumulation. While everyone else gets crumbs, left to grapple with the consequences of a system that disproportionately favors the elite. How's it paid for? It isn't. There's no plan to offset the cost of these tax cuts with corresponding spending reductions or revenue increases. The bill adds trillions to the national debt, a burden that will weigh heavily on future generations. No major spending cuts, just more borrowing, pushing the nation further into debt without addressing the underlying fiscal imbalances. We're putting a national shopping spree on the credit card, indulging in short-term gratification at the expense of long-term financial stability, and leaving the bill for the next generation, saddling them with the responsibility of paying off the debt incurred today. The gamble tax cuts will spark enough growth to pay for themselves. A risky bet based on the assumption that economic expansion will magically erase the debt created by these policies. Most economists are skeptical, questioning the validity of this assumption and pointing to historical evidence that contradicts it. Warning of higher interest rates, inflation, and a future fiscal crisis, consequences that could undermine economic stability and harm the very people these policies are supposed to help. In short, massive tax cuts for the wealthy, a transfer of wealth from the many to the few, financed by breathtaking borrowing, a reckless approach to fiscal policy that jeopardizes the nation's long-term economic health. The risks? Real and coming soon. The potential for economic instability and hardship is not a distant threat. It's a looming possibility. What could go wrong? Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the potential pitfalls and unintended consequences of this fiscal gamble. In the Big Beautiful Bill Casino, a microcosm of the American dream, fortunes are won and lost in the blink of an eye. The stakes are high, the tension palpable, and the outcome uncertain. Some hit the jackpot, celebrating their newfound wealth with cheers and champagne, while others lose their shirts, watching their hopes and dreams vanish with each spin of the wheel. It's a game of chance where luck and strategy intertwine, but ultimately, the house always seems to win. The winners, big corporations, reaping the rewards of favorable policies and market dominance. They stand tall, symbols of economic power and influence, shaping the landscape of the nation. Defense contractors, benefiting from increased military spending and global conflicts. Their factories hum with activity, producing the tools of war, while their profits soar to unprecedented heights. And high-income earners, profits and tax breaks galore. They live in opulent mansions, drive expensive cars, and enjoy a lifestyle of luxury and privilege, seemingly untouched by the struggles of everyday Americans. Rural America also scores, receiving attention and resources aimed at revitalizing struggling communities and preserving its unique way of life. With new infrastructure and subsidies to win over key lawmakers, ensuring their continued support and loyalty. Roads are paved, bridges are built, and broadband internet is finally brought to remote areas, connecting rural America to the rest of the world. But the benefits are targeted, not shared, carefully directed to specific groups and regions, leaving many others behind. Some yachts get upgrades, gleaming with fresh paint and new technology, while most boats stay leaky, struggling to stay afloat in the face of rising tides. The losers? Green energy, with slashed subsidies, hindering the transition to a sustainable future and jeopardizing the fight against climate change. And federal workers, facing hiring freezes and budget cuts, struggling to provide essential services to the American people. Social programs aren't cut yet, providing a safety net for the most vulnerable members of society, but their future remains uncertain. But the ballooning debt puts a target on their backs, threatening their long-term viability and raising fears of future cuts. When the bill comes due, entitlement reform will be first on the chopping block, sparking fierce debates about the role of government and the responsibility to care for its citizens. The result, a divided America, torn between competing interests and ideologies, struggling to find common ground. One side gets guaranteed benefits, enjoying the fruits of their labor and the security of a stable social safety net, while the other faces shrinking support, struggling to make ends meet and fearing for their future. It's not about lifting all boats, creating opportunities for everyone to succeed, but picking favorites, rewarding those who are already at the top and leaving others to fend for themselves. The gap between winners and losers just got wider, exacerbating existing inequalities and fueling social unrest. The bill redraws the map of who gets ahead and who's left behind, creating new pockets of prosperity and deepening the divides between urban and rural areas, coastal elites, and the working class. Welcome to Two Americas, where opportunity is not equal and the promise of the American dream remains elusive for many. Which side are you on? The side of privilege and power, or the side of struggle and resilience? The choice is yours, but the consequences will shape the future of the nation. The bill's journey through Congress was a political cage match, not a negotiation. Passed on party lines, it exposed deep fractures within and between parties. No compromise, just procedural bludgeoning and scorched earth tactics. The result? Policy instability. Every new Congress threatens to undo the last, making long-term planning impossible. Special interests and lobbyists shaped the bill, filling it with carve-outs for the powerful. Public trust eroded further, as ordinary people saw government working for insiders, not them. The aftermath hardened divisions, endless trench warfare, and a government stuck in gridlock. This is not how a country should run. Let's get personal. Let's talk about how this legislation, this bill making its way through the halls of power, actually impacts your life, your family, and your future. So how does this bill affect you, the average American, trying to make ends meet, planning for the future, and hoping for a better tomorrow? What are the specific ways this will change your daily life? High earners, those at the very top, get a tax cut. They'll see more money in their pockets, benefiting from policies designed to favor the wealthy. But for most families, the vast majority of Americans, taxes are projected to creep up, slowly but surely, as old tax cuts expire and new burdens emerge. This could mean less money for groceries, savings, or even just a little breathing room. What about government services? Expect longer lines, increased wait times, and reduced availability as funding dries up and resources become scarce. This translates to less funding for schools, meaning larger class sizes and fewer resources for our children. It also means underfunded parks and public programs, leaving communities without vital support systems. If you rely on federal aid, whether it's food assistance, housing support, or unemployment benefits, brace for uncertainty. The future of these programs is now in question. Because these crucial programs, the very safety nets designed to protect the vulnerable, are now prime targets for cuts, facing potential reductions that could leave millions struggling. The social safety net, the foundation of support for those in need, is slowly unraveling, thread by thread, leaving families exposed and vulnerable. All this to pay for tax breaks at the top, to further enrich those who already have so much, creating a widening gap between the haves and have-nots. What about job prospects? What does this bill mean for the future of employment in America? Defense and fossil fuels, industries often prioritized in such legislation, may experience growth, potentially creating jobs in those sectors. But green energy, the future of sustainable jobs and federal jobs, vital for public services, will likely shrink, facing cuts and reduced investment. The rising national debt, a consequence of these policies, could mean higher interest rates, impacting everything from credit cards to mortgages. This translates to making loans and mortgages more expensive for everyone, putting a strain on families trying to buy homes or finance their lives. The debt isn't just a number on a screen. It's not an abstract concept that doesn't affect you. It hits your wallet, impacting your ability to save, invest, and provide for your family. The bill's impact is everywhere. It's woven into the fabric of our society, affecting every corner of our communities. It touches taxes, jobs, services, and the cost of living, impacting the very fundamentals of our economic well-being. The beautiful name, the carefully crafted rhetoric, hides some ugly realities, masking the true consequences of this legislation. This is a fundamental shift that touches every part of your financial life, from your savings to your spending, from your investments to your debts. Pay attention, stay informed, engage in the conversation, and understand the implications of this bill. Because your future, the future of your family, and the future of our nation is on the line. That's the real story. The truth behind the headlines, the impact that this bill will have on your life. Every big law reveals a nation's soul, and this one is all about military might and corporate profit. The bill shifts focus away from green tech, social welfare, and federal oversight. Defense spending and corporate tax cuts signal a return to 20th century priorities. Investments in climate education and public services are sidelined. America is betting on strength through business and the military, not people or the planet. It's a gamble that prosperity will trickle down, but at a cost to the social contract. The country's future and its values are being rewritten. The big question, can America afford this bill? We've handed out permanent tax cuts and ramped up spending, all on borrowed money. Supporters claim growth will pay for it. Critics point to past failures and rising inequality. The debt is now a real experiment. How much can we borrow before it breaks us? The bill bets on markets, not public investment, to drive prosperity. The answers will shape every American's future. The stakes couldn't be higher. Fast forward to 2035. What does America look like after the big beautiful bill? Short term, a sugar high for the economy, soaring profits, and a booming stock market. Long term, a ballooning national debt, brutal choices between raising taxes or slashing programs. Inequality widens, the social safety net frays, and green tech falls behind. The bill's gamble may leave the country divided and less prepared for global challenges. The next decade will be defined by the consequences of this law. Understanding the stakes is crucial. Your future depends on it. The beautiful promises come with a price.